Gypsy Rose Blanchard just stirred up some serious backlash with a comment she made on TikTok, and honestly, it's not doing her any favors. The comment, which reads, "Many prayers and thoughts toward her recovery from Munchausen by proxy," might seem harmless on the surface, but it's landed her in hot water for all the wrong reasons. And no, Gypsy wasn't referring to her own alleged experience with Munchausen by proxy. Instead, she was commenting on a case involving a recently discovered instance of Munchausen by proxy in Earth, Texas.
Investigators say the 15-year-old had a lengthy list of medical conditions that her mother lied about, and that her mother also lied about her own health. Denise Zamora is facing 9 felony charges for allegedly providing a false medical history of her daughter, which led to the 15-year-old having unnecessary procedures and medications throughout a 6-year period, according to the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office. According to an arrest warrant, Zamora took her daughter to Cook Children's for 7 emergency visits, 12 admissions, 44 diagnoses, and 19 medications this year alone. In 2020, her daughter had a feeding tube installed, but according to the warrant, video evidence from the hospital appeared to show Zamora trying to pass off fake vomit to hospital staff as her daughter's vomit during a stay last month. That led to an investigation. Zamora allegedly told medical staff for 4 years that her daughter could only tolerate feeds through the feeding tube. However, the girl immediately began to eat by mouth after separation from her mother, according to investigators. A doctor's medical assessment listed in the warrant suspects the child is a victim of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a mental health disorder in which a caregiver creates the appearance of health problems in another person. Detectives say Zamora refused to provide an explanation for the allegations against her. The warrant says Zamora's daughter went to school in a wheelchair, even though investigators say she is perfectly capable of walking. Investigators also say Zamora lied to family and friends about her own medical history, claiming she has cancer, even shaving her head to fake chemotherapy treatments.
She was told that she had cancer.
Fox 4 photographer Mel Saavedra
Otra cosa.
translated an interview with a former neighbor of Zamora's who believed Zamora's cancer claim and that her daughter had medical issues.
Told her many times that she couldn't eat this or eat that because she was sick.
The Sheriff's Office says there is an investigation into Medicaid fraud. They're talking about up to $1 million in unnecessary charges. Zamora's bond has not yet been set. As for her 15-year-old daughter, the affidavit says that she is off her medications and doing well. One of those medications includes ketamine, which is typically prescribed for depression and pain. So the child's mother also claimed that she was non-verbal, but that appears to also be a lie, according to the Sheriff's Office. She is eating regularly right now, excited for foster care, according to that arrest warrant, and wants to learn how to play baseball.
The video she commented on, which she also shared on her own TikTok, detailed the story of a mother who was caught and arrested for suspected Munchausen by proxy. While the details about how authorities caught the mother weren't fully disclosed, the fact remains that the child involved in the case didn't take matters into their own hands. They sought help through proper channels. This is where Gypsy's comment set people off. One TikTok user fired back, saying something along the lines of, "Thank goodness she didn't pull what you did," clearly referring to Gypsy's well-documented decision to take part in the murder of her mother, Dee Blanchard. And let's be real, it's a valid point. How can Gypsy wish for this mother's recovery from Munchausen by proxy when she didn't give her own mother that same chance? As for death itself, it's not hard to see why this rubbed people the wrong way. Gypsy seems to be trying to relate her situation to this case when in reality, the circumstances are vastly different. First of all, Dee Dee was never formally diagnosed with Munchausen by proxy. And second, research has shown that many of the medical treatments and surgeries Gypsy underwent were actually necessary. It's clear Gypsy's case had layers of complexity, but it's also clear that her actions, having her mother killed rather than involving authorities, have set her apart in the worst way. No one's saying Dee Dee Blanchard was a saint. Her history of scams and questionable behavior is well documented. But Gypsy was 24 years old at the time, with the awareness and ability to seek help from law enforcement. It wasn't her place to end her mother's life, and that's a point people aren't letting her forget. Gypsy's comment feels like an attempt to draw parallels between her experience and this Texas case, but it's only highlighting how unnecessary and extreme her actions were. Instead of commenting as she did, she could have acknowledged her own past and said something like, "Thank you for not doing what I did." That would have shown some reflection and understanding, but instead, her words have made her look tone deaf and frankly ridiculous. It doesn't help that other recent cases of children escaping abusive homes only further emphasize how Gypsy's actions were avoidable. Take the story of a young girl in West Virginia just a few months ago. This brave child managed to escape her abusive home despite being handcuffed, running to a neighbor for help. And her abuser, 54-year-old Laura Southward, was promptly arrested. The house was described as filthy and chaotic, and Southward admitted to handcuffing the child as punishment. Stories like this one and the Texas case show how authorities can and do step in to protect children in abusive situations. It underscores the fact that Gypsy's decision to have her mother killed wasn't the only or the right option. And now, by inserting herself into these kinds of discussions, Gypsy is only making herself look worse. Every new case of Munchausen by proxy or child abuse that comes to light is a reminder of what could have been handled differently in Gypsy's situation. Her comment not only feels misplaced, but also opens the door for people to question her motives and actions all over again. Instead of making her look sympathetic, it's making her look like she still doesn't understand the weight of her choices. And honestly, it's a messy situation she would have been better off avoiding entirely. Shockingly enough, Gypsy Rose's life path number popped up on the list of those allegedly linked to unliving and other extreme behaviors. I know, wild, right? Could this actually explain why Gypsy's choices took such a dramatically different turn compared to others in similar situations? Let's break it down. If you're not familiar with numerology, here's the deal. It's the study of numbers and how they influence our lives. Among all the numbers in numerology, your life path number is said to be the most significant. It's calculated from your birth date and is meant to reveal your core personality, the lessons you're meant to learn, and the kind of life you're destined to lead. Basically, it's like a roadmap for your soul's journey. To find your life path number, you add up all the digits of your birth date until you're left with a single digit. For example, in Gypsy's case, her birth date adds up to a 9, which makes her life path number 9. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. The TikToker specifically mentioned the significance of numbers like 18. Apparently, if your birth date adds up to 18 before reducing to 9, it's said to carry a certain intensity. However, Gypsy's number comes from 36, 3 plus 6 equals 9, which doesn't fall under the same umbrella. But according to this TikToker, numbers like hers still align with patterns seen in individuals who've made, let's say, morally questionable decisions.
These life paths right here, 18, 9, 11, or 2, are more likely to be serial killers and murderers. These two life paths right here have a very hard time controlling their emotions. They have a very quick temper, especially with 9s. But with the 18-9, they usually take more action towards, if not murdering somebody, or killing somebody. We all know the TikTok star that looks like Scarface. He's also born on the 18th. And the teen who killed his Spanish teacher is also born on the 18th. And then the 22-year-old who killed his girlfriend by stabbing her just recently, who's also born on the 18th as well. So a lot of 18-9s, they definitely have a big temper, but they usually take more action with their temper. Because with 18-9s, they just tend to be a little bit more vengeful, and they tend to seek out revenge. And with 11s, they just have so much immense emotion. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to control it. So they just go out and be serial killers or murderers.
Now, I'm not saying this is some ironclad explanation for why Gypsy made the choices she did, but it does make you wonder if numerology, or at least the vibes around her life path, played a part in shaping her destiny. Life path 9s are often described as idealists, deeply passionate, and sometimes a little too driven by their emotions. When taken to the extreme, those traits could potentially lead to drastic actions, especially in highly stressful or oppressive circumstances. And still, it's a pretty bold leap to say a number predicted her involvement in her mother's murder. But the fact that this theory is even being discussed on TikTok shows how much Gypsy's story continues to captivate people. Whether you buy into numerology or not, it's an interesting lens through which to view her life and choices. It also adds another layer of complexity to the ongoing conversation about her actions, her motives, and whether she's truly learned from her past. What do you guys think about all this? Is it possible her life path number really influenced her behavior, or is it just a coincidence? And does numerology even have a place in conversations about such serious topics? Let me know your thoughts, because this one's definitely a head scratcher. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, I'll catch you in the next deep dive.